to go.
Okay. Uh, Hello, welcome to Discussing Tabletop for November 25th, 2017. I hope everyone is having a good day. Is episode 55. Alright, so why don't we dive right into things? Of course, it's once again me, your host, Tantus Dracovin, with Joe and Wyrm here to talk about all the things in tabletop that have come out this week. All the new exciting releases. Plus, Joe and I are going to be talking about our experiences as PAX Unplugged, the big tabletop convention we actually went to. I mean, if we'd gone to Gen Con, I'm sure we would have talked about that too. That's another big one, but we didn't go to that one. Anyway, so we do have a docket of things to talk about today. First off, Joe and I are going to be discussing a little bit of Iconic Masters, the new Magic set that's come out. Just a little bit about it, as it is a 25th anniversary sort of thing for Magic. We'll talk about Xanathar's Guide to Everything, the D&D based board game done by, I think it's Cryptic Labs. I'm probably getting their name wrong. Dragonfire. The same people that actually produce Shadowrun now did Dragonfire. Then a couple more board games with Bastion and Time Barons, before me and Joe then settle on to talking a little bit about the games we played and encountered at PAX, and we'll have a sort of a discussion on some of those things and what we experienced, and then we'll finish up with our normal segments of Our Week in Gaming, which me and Joe will handle most of when we talk about PAX. And then, of course, our Kickstarter Korner. So we'll
I don't know. I have like 2 weeks of gaming that has happened
That's
now.
true. It has been like 2 weeks, so we will have some extra things to talk about. That's true. Alright, though. Why don't we dive into the first topic, though? I do want to talk a little bit about Iconic Masters, because it is the Magic set that came out. So, effectively what this is it is supposed to be representing 25 years of Magic, and truthfully speaking, when I go through the cards for it, it is a lot of stuff that's probably in the last 5 years have come out. It has a big chunk of stuff from various sets like Scars of Mirrodin, from the Tarkir block, things like that, and some of the old core sets as they used to be. But it does here and there have cards which are from older sets. Like a good example would be Channel. Channel is a card that we haven't seen for years. I mean, like, probably... I don't know if they had a version of it in one of the From the Vaults. That's the only place I could have thought of them putting it out, other than back in Unlimited. It's something they just didn't reprint. But they've got a copy of Channel here. So, I mean, it is a lot of good cards. I can't say that it's not. They did choose wisely most of the point for most of the things they did. Since they were picking and choosing a lot of things. Again, as I said, it is a lot of newer stuff more, but not all of it. And, I mean... Okay, Joe, what do you think about this entire thing? Because it is a 25th anniversary stuff. And my first complaint would be, of course, it's again, like one of the expensive sets.
That was what I was going to say. Expensive.
Yeah.
That's probably why I don't know if I'm going to even get any. Just because I forget what they're running right now.
Like $10 it might be. It might be a little cheaper than that. But it's definitely more expensive than everything else.
I mean, they're bringing back some classic artwork too with it. They're bringing like the old Disenchant, like they're using the original picture.
No.
Isn't that the original or no?
That's not the original. The original was the shield. That was the second artwork they did for it.
Okay,
actually.
That's the one I remember the most. So.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, they are bringing in some things like, well, they got like the Mahamuti Jin, except for the first time ever, he's uncommon and not rare.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that's sad. It's sort of like the dude's been like rare from Up Unlimited. That Origins deck I talked about yesterday, he was still rare as the special card version they put out there.
But I mean, he is only a 5/6 flying.
I know, he never really was good enough to be in that position.
It makes more sense for him to be uncommon than rare.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
Yes, it's sad that he got downgraded, but at the same time, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Now, granted, there are certain things I've seen that they haven't brought back, others that they have. I like the art for Lord of the Pit they have. I think that's really cool.
Frostlinks looks really cool, too.
Yeah, they've got some better art for some of the ones here that are, like, definitely the classics. And the unfortunate thing is it's not all of them. I can pick out where exactly we're bringing them back from. Like, some of them are easy, like Earth Elemental, Fireball. Those are unlimited, but, like, Hoarding Dragon? For the life of me, I don't remember what set that came from. I should, but I don't.
Well, Mana Drain and Mana Leaks, I think it was early on, wasn't it?
They might have been unlimited, I think, both of them.
Yeah. And they brought back Fog Bank.
Yeah. And they have the Praetors and the dragons from the Kamigawa block and the Praetors from the Scars block, which are all five of them for each of those groups are actually really good. So, I mean, their groupings are good, and they have a lot of nice stuff, so I can't complain about that.
No, and there are a lot of rares in this set, it looks like, too.
Yeah, a lot of good rares.
That also explains the price.
Because they're very good rares, and many of them actually do have a decent price if you look at them.
Yeah, so now you're getting some older rares at a discount, basically. So yeah. I understand it. It's just...
Yeah, I agree. I am curious, because I don't know which one it would be. Which one came from... There's got to be one here somewhere that originally came from Arabian Nights. It's got to be there. Shouldn't it? If it's from everything?
Yeah.
But I don't know where it's at.
I mean, I'm seeing some older cards like Mind Stone. I know is early on.
Yeah, no, there's definitely...
And Mannequin.
Oh, yeah. No, they've got some... The only thing about the Gatherer anymore is it doesn't tell me the other sets it's from anymore. It only mentions...
Although it's weird seeing some of these older ones with the like newer mana symbols, like for colorless, like the Grand Daimo.
Yeah, I agree.
It looks weird seeing three diamonds for the colorless symbols. It's like that doesn't look quite right.
Shouldn't you be the other way? I mean, I'm just saying. But no, I mean, it's a nice set. I don't know if I would have paid so much for it, is the only thing I can say, I guess, about it. And I think that's where we're sort of on an agreement about it. That it definitely is pricey.
It's worth it, I think, in a way, but at the same time, it's like, for you, it'd probably be more worth it because you're a collector.
Yeah, it's true. But
for me, as I just buy cards to play with.
But I almost look at it as its own set, though, anyway, is the thing, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, yes, it is its own set, and yes, it's not like collecting the original card of it, but if you have holes from that time period...
It wouldn't count, though, as the collector.
I know it doesn't count quite, but, I mean, at least you can say, I have one of these. It may not be the right edition, but I have one of these.
That's more for if I need one of the cards for one of my decks, I'd say. That one, the edition doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
I'll have to keep an eye out for the one place I go to that will actually tell me all the sets these cards are from if I go into them individually, because unfortunately it doesn't have it up yet here. Unfortunately. I don't know if they have the Masters series at all when I'm looking at it here. No, they do. There we go. They go from Eternal Masters to Modern Masters 2017 edition. They don't have Iconic Masters yet, so I'll have to wait and see if I can figure out what sets what's from. But anyway.
What about Master of Puppets?
I mean, that could be something that exists there, but I have a doubt of it. I have large amounts of doubt.
No doubt.
But that's I guess where I'm kind of thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you definitely want like some of the older cards for a deck, this would be a place to do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, Channel has shown up twice since 4th edition. Once in From the Vault Exiled, and from Vintage Masters, they did have it in there.
Okay.
So, yep.
Ooh, the old Doomblade.
Doomblade! Ah! Okay. I didn't actually need to do that, but I chose to do that, and we're gonna all live with it.
My blade has been doomed.
Doom, 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 doomy, doom, doom.
Doom,
Anyway,
doom, 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 doom.
I think that's all I really have to say about this entire setup, because, again,
That is fine with me.
yeah, it's not a bad set, and it does have some good things, but it's pricey. So if you like a lot of those cards and or need a lot of those cards, it might be a way to get them if you're lucky.
Yeah.
So, but it's out now. Why don't we move on, though, because there was another big release from Wizards of the Coast, apparently the same week, Xanathar's Guide to Everything. So, this is a new Dungeons & Dragons book. It's got over 25 subclasses, many of which, when they talk about them, I recognize as being versions that we saw in Unearthed Arcana.
Yeah, because that's kind of their test field right now.
Yeah. They tested a bunch of them out. I'm curious as to how many weren't in Unearthed Arcana, but that's something that might be hard to tell the difference, because there was a lot in Unearthed Arcana. You have to remember everything.
Which I probably will. Let's see.
I'll let you look, and I'll continue talking.
A lot of them are also prestige classes from earlier editions.
That's true, which is a new way of doing a lot of these. So it's got spells, racial feats, randomized backstory, which I don't think is something that they did in Unearthed Arcana, which I guess is an interesting one they're adding in. New stuff for traps, magic items, downtime activities. It's a lot of stuff just to enhance your D&D games in general, which is good.
It's good, but the only thing that worries me is, are they making a turn back towards 3.5 again?
No, they're really not. But I have my opinion on that. But was Inquisitive Rogue in the
I
Unearthed Arcana?
don't think so.
I don't think that one was.
Horizon Walker was.
Yeah, as was Cavalier.
Yeah.
Circle of Dreams Druid was.
Yeah. I don't think the Celestial Warlock was.
It might not have been. It's hard for me to remember all the Warlock ones.
I kind of feel like there's about one from each. Because Circle of the Shepherd, I don't remember.
No,
Circle of the Shepherd. I can't recall that either. So
They may have renamed it, though, because it's some of Nature's Spirits.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's about one from each class that is new, except for Barbarian, in which I remember all of these from Unearthed Arcana.
So they do have some new ones, and
yeah,
I think
they're probably
And so there. Why don't we get into the discussion of what Joe was bringing up, because that's a good point about this book. Are they going towards the too much, or are they keeping it whole? Now, I'll throw in my 2 cents first, and then if you want to fill up Wyrm, you can after me. I'm going to say I don't think so yet. Could they? Sure. But they don't release a lot of books very often. So this is a book a year maybe? And the way that subclasses work are a lot different than prestige classes or alternate classes. Because it's the same thing with just a little bit of different flavor, And I think that helps a lot to keep it that you do have a variety, but they're still very similar. So...
And, I mean, when it comes down to it, nothing is yet more broken than a Warlock. So we're doing pretty good still.
Yeah, Warlocks are pretty beefy in various ways. We've seen that very often.
They're very front loaded. They balance out towards the end game, but early game they're more powerful. Them and monks are really powerful early game, but balance out late game with the other classes. They're very front loaded classes. Yes. In fact, if you really want to have a good double class, Monk Warlock is not bad because they're two very front loaded classes.
Would that 10 and 10. Would that make you a Morlock?
Yeah. Yes, it would.
Nice.
I have to have fun in there sooner or later.
Well, you have to give us what is it? That was Wells, H.G. Wells reference.
Yes.
Yeah. We have to bring on our Wells. Come on. You know, classic there. But
but the primary thing with this is I feel like they just kind of went back and revised a lot of rules which were way too generalized or overlooked in the DMG, which is my favorite part of Xanathar's. They have a new they redid CR or they redid encounter calculation, they redid traps, they redid downtime, you know, to have actually, and they went through and gave examples of how to handle tools and tool proficiencies.
Oh god, yeah, that's one of those things that I'm always worried about is like tool proficiencies. Sort of like, this is kind of generalized a lot.
Yeah, like I never had a problem as a GM or player, but I know people who do, because it's like, what can I use this for? Yeah. You know, like, what can pottery proficiency be used for?
Yeah, I mean, like, Thieves' Tool's the only one you can, like, obviously, like, pick out and be like, Thieves' Tools, pick a lock, there you go.
After that, pottery proficiency, everyone needs a chamber pot.
But, let's see. Like, traps, actually having a mechanical way to create traps is nice.
Oh, that's good. I think that was the thing I hated about when I was looking through the traps, is, like, I can't make one. I have to sort of use the examples, kinda.
Yeah, you base them off the examples and figure them out from there.
Yeah.
I cannot freaking find where is it?
I didn't think downtime was too bad, but I could see it be expanded upon to improve it a little bit, I can say. So.
Yeah, my only worry was where I brought up, you know, are they coming back towards 3.5? It's just the sheer amount that's being, you know, added in the book.
It's not nearly as much though as, like, I mean, when 3.5, I mean, they didn't have subclasses, so it's like they just added like 5 new classes, you know, and then prestige classes, and it's just kind of like, that's very, very big stuff when you have a whole new class. You have to balance a whole, like, 1 through 20. This is just like, let's add these couple of extra things into a class, and it's a little bit easier to balance around that.
I have to balance this one's abilities at these levels, which I've already balanced out, with the ones I'm going to add in. And that's just going to be the flavor of it then. You know? Mm-hmm. And I think that helps it a lot, just being, you know, subclasses.
True. Like, here's some examples for how to use Potter's tools. Components, like Potter's tools include... that's just what it includes. You gain additional insight when inspecting ceramics. You know, by examining pottery shards, you can determine an object's original intact form and likely purpose. And then it's like, here are some example DCs. Determine what a vessel once held, DC 10. Create a serviceable pot, DC 15. Find a weak point in a ceramic object, DC 20. You know, it's just kind of like, you know, the proficiency, it's kind of a nice little thing, you know?
Yeah. And that defines it a little better, that, like, there are certain things which you don't think of normally when you just hear, I have proficiency in potter's tools. Well,
I can make a pot?
Yeah, that's what it originally is. It's like, I could make a pot. Now it's like,
I have a pot to piss in, and now I just need a window to throw it out of.
Yeah. Now it's like there's a lot more variety in the way that you look at it and can define it. Which is
it gives you a way to, it gives people, especially players in my opinion, a way to think about how to use their tools.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I as a GM could probably be like, oh yeah, okay, I'll have this player roll a pottery proficiency to examine these pots that are broken. You know, like, I could think of ways to include these things as a GM, but as a player, you don't think about, well, what options do I have with this? I'm not even going to bother picking it because I don't even know what it can do.
Right.
Yeah, and I also like if they're providing a full list of the tools that are actually involved in the potteries kit, because that also could be like, oh, I need this kind of tool to do this kind of thing that might be an improvised something or other, you know.
Yeah, so it says, like it says, potter's tools include potter's needle, ribs, scrappers, a knife, and calipers.
So this could be like, I have a knife. I need to cut something that I can't, it's not going to be a combat knife, but let's say I just need a knife all of a sudden. Boom, I got one.
Cut some rope.
Yeah. It's
calipers. I need to see how big this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got uses outside, especially when you know all the different tools, and that, I think, is a really good help.
Oh, it's actually interesting because Steve's tools, this is even useful for this. Includes a small file, a set of lockpicks, and a small mirror mounted on a metal handle, a set of narrow bladed scissors, and a pair of pliers.
Hey, that mirror could come in useful in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I know. It was like an actual item you could buy in Pathfinder, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
because it's like, oh, now I can look around a corner and see if there's enemies down that hall.
Yeah, and it's granted, it's probably not going to be like a great mirror to use, but still, it's something that I could notice if there's something there, and it's a use of thieves' tools, unless it defines it there, you don't think of, I think that's another reason that it's really good that they do define this. It removes some generalization and opens up opportunities for role-playing, for being creative.
Because the main thing you normally think of when you think thieves' tools are lockpicks.
Yeah, or a trap, I need to disarm it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I like the randomized backstory a little bit, too. That's something that, sometimes when you're creating a character, you're just like, what the heck? Fun. Yeah, you're just like, what the heck is my backstory? You're just like, you reach that point in time where you're like,
especially if you're doing it for a one-shot or something.
Yeah, then it might be fun just to put together a randomized backstory, or if you need some help or something, or just something that you can work off of. All those are good reasons to use one, and I like the fact that they have it then.
Just so you know, Matt, you're cutting in and out here and there.
I am great. Great.
Not a lot, but just once in a while it'll kind of go and then go back to normal.
It's probably my internet, which on Monday I have to call and yell at them. Because I've had some problems over the past couple of days. That's been a little shoddy. It's not noticeable as much on the computers, but on my phone it will disconnect from the internet while the Wi-Fi from around and be like, I can't reconnect to it.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, yeah. Been very lovely. Anyway, why don't we move on, though, because we don't want to get... And I think that's...
I could discuss this the entire stream.
Xanathar Guide is good. Is very good. We definitely would recommend check it out. I kind of want to get a copy for myself just because of all the stuff I do with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition now. It's... As much as, the Sword Coast guys was cool with some extra races and stuff... I think that's if you're going to that area, it's a little better. This is just, awesome in its own ways. All right, let's talk about Dragonfire. It is a deck building game for D&D. It reminds me a lot of the Pathfinder card game that you can get. This one is a little bit more generalized. It feels like it's based on adventuring in the Sword Coast, and they want to have expansions, exploring places in Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter, and Waterdeep, things like that. You can level up your characters, you learn feats, you gain equipment. There's all kinds of encounters, two dungeon encounters, a wilderness, a city, and an adventurer's encounter deck, along with all your magic items, markets, characters. It's a lot. It's a whole bunch of stuff. It feels to me very much like the Pathfinder one is, except probably the Pathfinder one I feel is more story driven, because they use their adventure paths as points of order for when they're building those. So it's sort of like, here's our storyline. You can play through it in card game form. This one feels like you're an adventurer in a generalized area, which I think might be an advantage. And it is $60, though. Hey, Muffin.
I do gotta say, though, they are definitely getting their money's worth out of those monster manual pictures.
Yes.
If you look at the images, they're using the monster manual pictures for the monsters. I'm like, they really need to get some new artwork for some of these things. Like, do they really have to repeat all of these? Because you just look at it and you know. I'm like, oh, yep, there it is. There's a ghoul, there's a wyvern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little expensive, but it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah. No.
Although I will say I'm looking on Amazon right now, and some of the booster packs are like almost $30.
Yeah, I gotta say though, like looking at the because the picture I'm looking at is like all the stuff it comes with, and it comes with quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So like $60, it doesn't sound too bad for the base game.
No, it's some of the add-ons look a bit expensive though, is what I was saying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, Catalyst games, I'm not familiar with their tabletop side as much. I am familiar with their RPG side because they do Shadowrun and BattleTech currently, so they do some good stuff on that end. But again, they are a company that I feel like turning a RPG to a deck building game isn't necessarily a terrible thing that they could do. I think they did a Shadowrun one, which I have seen. I've never played. That came out some time ago, and they've done a few other games which are kind of interesting. So
yeah, and it's 2 to 6 players too.
Yeah, it's a good number of players.
Actually, that's actually really nice that you can play with 2 players. There are not enough board games, which I feel like most board games are 3 or 4 and up. So it's really nice that they have a 2-player version.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to let you guys continue. I need to break for 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
Okay. Jeez.
Sorry.
Uh-huh.
Sorry.
Uh-huh.
I'll be right back, though.
Yes, but anyway, so Dragonfire, again, it's out now. I like how they're thinking expansions as locations, because they're basically aiming to be like Sword Coast featured, I guess is the good way of saying it.
And actually the nice thing about them, like they're $30, but they seem to be trying to make them like here's a full new adventure with it.
Yeah.
So at least they're trying to like include like a lot of something with their booster packs.
Yeah. And
I'm not sure how worth it is because I don't actually see like how much is in it.
But in a way, again, I like it a little better than the Pathfinder version of it, because the Pathfinder version of it, we're doing this card-based game adventure, and it's a storyline, and you pretty much get more booster packs to continue on the storyline. This one, we're in an area, so each time you play, it could be a different story almost, and especially with the contents of all the decks and stuff.
Yeah, and you can almost, if you want to, like, have someone, like, almost have I guess you could say GM go through and, like, reorganize it all and, like, kind of build a set to, like, play it as, like, oh, here's this, let's go on, like, a slightly different adventure, let's mix it up a bit. You can almost, like, do something like that if you probably wanted to, I would assume.
Yeah. No, I'm sure there's a lot of different ways you could go through this and use it very coolly. And it does look like they have, like, various dungeon crawl, like, adventures. So you'd try to draw one, and you'd go through it. And it would have its own, you're using these encounters. You're, like, using the wilderness encounters. You're using the city encounters. It has I feel like it's looking to the similar things of what they do for the, their board games. Like Castle Ravenloft, Wrath of Ashardalon, and stuff like that. I feel
they
like
have a couple extra boosters, which are kind of like they have treasures, they have characters. I'm like, okay, that's actually kind of a lot of extra little booster packs.
Well, that's the way,
especially right out of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's the way things happen a lot right now.
I know. I want people to move away from that model. Day 1 DLC is garbage.
It is, but. They're going by the basics that everybody seems to do nowadays. You can't really, like, completely fault
I mean, like, I do get it a little bit, because it's like, oh, here is, like, more, like, I mean, there's kind of this aspect where we don't want to put it all in one box, because then we have to charge more. but at the same time, I feel like you should purposefully delay it like 2 or 3 months just to kind of say, okay, you've played the base thing, here's something new.
Well, I mean, these I don't think are necessarily out yet. They're like Heroes of
January 2018, and the base game comes out November.
Yeah, it is pretty close to get. That's not the worst. There was we talked about Massive Darkness a couple months ago, and then the next month and this month they've put out expansion stuff for it. So they're already like. But the thing is, I was at when we were at PAX Unplugged. This is like just a reference to that. Come On had a big thing about it. It is, I guess, their flagship right now, and they're pushing it very heavily. So I can understand that maybe D&D wants them to push this a little bit to get on the same market that Pathfinder has for like a card deck based game. They already have like, if we look at the RPG to like tile world based games, there's no standing up to what D&D has done. We look at Tomb of Annihilation, the board game version of it, the build your own board game. That's the kind of thing that they've been throwing out there and making them all interchangeable with themselves and things like that have made them very good. But they kind of have that market. Now they're just trying to expand into another market that sort of existed, but they're like, you know what? We could do this too.
Yeah. Like, it's not the worst. It's just something that always annoys me when it's just like, oh yeah, okay, we released this in November, we have another expansion coming in December and another expansion coming in January, announced at this before the game is even released.
No, I do agree. It is like a little too much. Yeah. Yep.
It's just a pet peeve of mine. I just feel like you can plan it ahead of time, game people, but give it space.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of the character pack is neat. That's the only one that I kind of feel like, fine, I'll give you that one. Because it's 32 initial race class combination. That's a lot of them. So it gives you a lot of options about what you want to play. And probably each one has like slightly different abilities, which would be kind of cool. Which means you could go on the same adventure with different sets of characters and have different results.
These are combinations, by the way. I assume that means it's like 8 races, or like, four more classes with, or like 8 more classes with like or something with the like 4 classes, 4 races mixed with the original makes it 32 extra combinations or something like that.
Well, in this they include Ranger, Druid, Warlock, and Bard, which I assume that means they didn't have those originally with 4 race combinations. Maybe it might just be like Elf, Human, Dwarf, Halfling or something. They might just do that because those are the common ones to do. But I don't know if they might have some of the other races too.
Yeah, I think the Treasure Hoard one's not a bad deal either. For extra treasures and items, I think it's $16.99. You get 55 foiled cards.
Yeah, it's a lot of cards for the price. Yeah,
that's not a bad deal. Where it comes down to is like, adventure, Shadow over Dragonsphere Castle.
Yep,
that's almost $30.
Yeah.
You are adding a new adventure, which is great, but is it $30 worth?
I don't know. So there is a question of price definitely kind of filling our heads here and kind of floating around, which I guess it's going to be up to you about how much you think you can get out of it and how much replayability. It's, again, the big replayability is, can you play through the same adventure and have enough of a different result that it's going to be good enough?
I assume so. Again, the thing that bothers me is the day one DLC, and I just want to say this one more time, because like what happens is, and here, this is the way I perceive it, is, by the way, here's our game. Oh, but if you want to get the full experience, you have to buy these extra things. And that's almost what day one DLC says to me.
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly. I agree. That's a lot of what.
And that's why I hate it so much.
Day one DLC is kind of definitely hateful.
It's better to space it out because then it doesn't seem like, hey.
and they're spacing out the release of it, but they announce it all at once, which is dumb to me. I think you should go, oh, by the way, like 3 months later, go, oh yeah, by the way, we now have these extra expansions. Like, oh, okay, sure. You know, like at that point, doesn't feel as annoying.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it's perceived. Honestly, from a logical perspective, I get it. They don't want to put it all in one box, because if they did, it'd be way too expensive.
Yep.
Right.
All right.
But
we could go on about the problems with that, because that's definitely some problems with that I think we could both agree and discuss that for quite some time. But I do want to move on, though. I do want to talk about Bastion. A new board game that came out. So I do want to talk about this. It's 1 to 4 players, from 45 to 60 minutes. It's about a castle being under siege. Monsters are surrounding it. They're trying to break in, and you're some of the few that can stand against them. It's a cooperative strategy game that you're taking together. It's taking a lot of tower defense game kind of inspiration. You are basically one of the few that can like manipulate they call it like mana, it's the magical energies of the city, and so you have to like go around gathering up it to cast big spells to summon allies. I don't know about the summoning allies, but they like to cast spells, use magical abilities to help the armies, I guess, to defend against the stem of monsters and to hold back, keep the city from being overrun. So you're supposed to balancing the mana you're channeling, you're moving through the city and defeating enemies.
So, one of the things I find interesting, too, is it's set in the world of Berserk.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually on the back of the box. It's funny, though, because it's like you can barely read it, but at the same time I read it on another website, on Board Game Geek, where they, like...
Oh my god, it does say that!
Yeah, right?
Holy crap! I didn't see that anywhere else except... It's on the back of the board game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's actually a little interesting tidbit, which...
Yeah. That's like one of those weird things that, like, it doesn't... I'm guessing they're using the source material because they didn't get any of the art or anything, too. So they're just using the source material as an inspiration, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
People have done that
but
before,
it's kind of funny. This is kind of funny.
Yeah, it is a little bit like Castle Panic, except I think there's a little bit... Except rather than we all just play the cards, I think there's like, you're a character and you manage a lot more. So it's like Castle Panic plus 3 level. Yeah, plus. It's got more layers to it.
That's exactly what I was thinking, just overlooking the rules. I'm like, this is like Castle Panic, except there's more levels to it.
Yeah. So,
hi, James.
Yes, hi, James.
Yeah.
So they do have a good amount of stuff in here. You get how much is it? It's $50. Which, I mean, it's not too bad for the price of what Castle Panic.
Standard for a board game.
Yeah, standard for a board game.
40 to 60 generally is what I'd pay for a board game.
Yeah. Well, again, it could be one of those board games that doesn't have a lot of replayability, and then it's like, then you're questioning it, but no.
Well, yeah, that's different, though. If you can always play it, it's like, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a gate, you have enemy camps, you got all these stuff, a lot of enemy cards. It's nice that they're all cards. As much as I like the little tiles of Castle Panic, the cards are neat, too.
Yeah.
And the
cards also... The cards, by making them cards, you notice that they can probably add a lot more variation to the enemies.
True. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you're going to be using a lot of spells and magic to defeat the enemies using the powers of the army and stuff, too. And they do have a lot of, like, extra special things, like, beyond the first game, with, like, rituals, enemy traits, all this stuff that you'd add in after you play your first game, which is kind of cool. That you do want to play, like, that simple first game, but then you might play a game and, like, you're taking into account, like, all these other special abilities that just by, like, coloration and symbols on it that it'll have that you weren't really, like, you might not have taken to as big account the first time. And they even have like a scenario mode, which is pretty cool too. That's something that always helps for, experimental replayability. And then, of course, opening up to a scenario mode also opens up other people somewhere online making their own scenarios eventually.
Right.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting to me is like I'm kind of curious, but there's like an image on Board Game Geek because I always like to look at their images to kind of check out the game. And there's one where it shows a dragon in the center and your characters are on the outside doing stuff, and I'm like, is that a game mode? Because that seems kind of interesting if you're trying to siege the.
Oh.
I don't really know. It just caught my eye. I'm like, that seems interesting.
Could be in a game mode. Maybe you're trying to infiltrate the dragon's lair.
Yeah, that might be it. I don't know.
I really don't know either. Because I didn't download the rules, I just saw that.
Yeah, well, again...
Well, let me see. I had the rules here.
Rules are taking a minute for it to load up on my end. But that just means it could be that I'm getting choppy. Woo!
Let's see. Overview. Enemies. Example of a turn. Bastion features. Enemy traits. Enemy abilities.
It could probably just be something special about the dragon card, like it directly attacks the city or something. You never know, but...
Yeah.
Scenario modes. They have Dark Skies, which a shadow passes over you, then a moment later another follows. You have to... creatures are descending on the Bastion. Quaking Earth. Display of power. Late arrival.
Late arrival sounds if monsters have taken the city and you're trying to...
And a fearsome dragon coils around the citadel. You slip in the Bastion, slam the gate shut, a pack of beasts appears in the district, heralding incoming enemy forces. So that's what it is. You arrive, and it's already under siege, and so you have to break your way into the citadel, seal it back up, or the Bastion, defeat the dragon, all while the monsters are trying to, I guess, kind of pound on the outside again.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool that they have the different scenarios like that, too.
Yeah. I like a lot of those little scenario things. All right, and I did want to talk about one more board game. I wanted to talk about Time Barons for 2 to 4 players, 30 minutes. We are shadowy figures shaping mankind's destiny through time, and of course we have to assemble effectively an army of allies and minions that we're going to be using, and effectively become the true Lord of Time above everyone else. Pretty simple kind of concept there,
Well, I cast a plague on both your houses.
No plague. Plague. Geez, it's not giving me the WizKids site. WizKids.
I'm on their site.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh no, I'm on timebarons.com.
There we go. I got the WizKids site of it because they're the ones that I think they're. There was an original release of this back in 2014. WizKids have now unleashed an updated version of it effectively now. It's a game I didn't know about, so that's why I kind of wanted to bring into talking about it anyway. So you start with a site, 10 followers, and you basically travel through different eras. There are 4 different eras. The game ends when either... I think it's you defeat all the minions or, army kind of thing of another player, or 3 of the era decks are basically emptied out. So there's a lot of strategy to it. And the game shines in duels. So it is a 1v1 best, but they do have optional rules for 2v1 and 2 versus 2, and a free-for-all. So there's a lot of combinations. Again, it's sort of like, we shine at 1v1, but if you want to try out these other versions of it, we have the rules set for it, which I always like, because it does give options that, as fun as 2-player games can be, there are times when you have more people than 2, and you want to play this game. And it's not helpful then. So, the WizKids version... I was checking out the rules for recently. I think on the Time Barons site they talk about how it has been technically re-released by them. But you have a bunch of starting sites, gameplay cards, free-for-all cards. which I guess you would add them in if you are playing free-for-all. Bunch of different tokens, weapon tokens, rule books. And you basically take turns gaining followers, battling against your opponents, playing cards, upgrades, all that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting concept that you also choose kind of the era that you're taking cards from at a time. So it's sort of like, I'm in this era of time travel, taking stuff from it in order to build my forces and followers. And you kind of move around, and like, there are better stuff at farther advanced eras, but more like kind of drawbacks and dangers to it. So it's sort of like, are you going to go for the easy cards at the early era, which are probably not as powerful, but you don't have to worry as much about, like, you know, different problems? Or do you want to kind of get risks and move ahead in time? I think that was a very interesting kind of mechanic to the entire thing. What do you folks think?
I think it's interesting. I don't know. I'll be honest, I didn't actually notice this in your docket, so I actually didn't really look it up ahead of time. I
looked at it a bit.
I didn't capitalize it. That's one of the reasons.
Yeah, I know. I just overlooked it. It's not like you didn't post it. I just overlooked it on accident.
That happens.
I overlooked the actual site for Time Barons. It looks like an interesting game. I haven't gotten a chance to look over the WizKids site. I don't know if there was a difference between the two.
I don't know.
It looks it looks exactly like the same box and everything.
I think they kept a lot of the art the same. They might have just tweaked little things here and there, is I think what they did. It's from the sounds of it. You know, improvements because, you know, 3 years and a little bit of like, and hundreds of games of play testing, you learn a few things.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it didn't have as large a release originally. That they sort of were on their own to begin with, and then like WizKids is like, here you go, guys, bigger name publisher. Here you go. We're getting it a more like a mainstream release then, which is, I guess that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does harken into, of course, a game which was probably more independent now going mainstream, which has its pluses and minuses, of course. Maybe the reason we didn't really know about it is it didn't sell particularly good because no one really knew about it originally. Now we do, and we're getting the big company putting it out.
Right. A big backer always is going to change things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a bit of a re-release, and, you know, we're back out at it. Granted, you know, it seems like they did a good job the first time, at least that there was some recognition enough for them to get WizKids to put it out again. Yeah, it was a game crafted...
It looks like it got a reward from IndieCade selection in 2015.
And it was originally a Game Crafter game, which I don't really know what that means, but it sounds like very small time. And then WizKids is like, you know, guys, put it out. See, there it goes. Balance to the original cards, graphical improvements, 50 brand new expansion cards, and new mechanics.
Oh, so extra cards.
Here's why we didn't know about it. It was originally released in 2014 as a print-on-demand game for just 2 players.
See?
Time Barons was republished by WizKids in November of this year, and the new features are balance improvements to the original cards, graphical improvements throughout, 50 brand new expansion cards that introduce new mechanics, and a team and free-for-all modes to follow up to 4 players to compete.
I do want to say 50 new cards. It said 50 new cards, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That almost doubles the amount of cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's they've basically taken something which had good rewards to it, but it was kind of like a print on your own thing.
It was a small time thing.
Yeah, small time thing, and they've made it into a big published thing, which, granted, is maybe not a bad thing. We can say that maybe the artists and designers, maybe they got, you know, a good payday for this one kind of thing, you know? For
they almost certainly got a pretty good,
Yeah. So, it's here and now, and so if you're interested in Time Barons,
Yeah.
I think what I want to do now, if we're all done with Time Barons, is I do want to do our Kickstarter Korner first, because that's kind of thought it takes some less time. And then we'll take our break, because I do want to take a break because we're going to be a little longer today. We're just going to take a couple-minute break so people can go to the bathroom, because then me and Joe are going to dive into our PAX Unplugged experience, and Wyrm will probably just ask some questions about some things as we talk about them. And any of you guys want to ask some questions about what we talk about, and then we'll finish up with our week in gaming after that. Okay?
Also, James, if you're still in chat, feel free to type along, because he was there as well.
Oh, that's fun.
That was accurate. He was there also.
I'm going to go last because mine's going to be a segue into PAX.
Okay.
And I might as well go first.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to be taking a look at Changeling the Lost 2nd Edition Kickstarter.
Yep.
I like it for some reasons, and I dislike it for others. I am currently I run kind of a Changeling game on my channel. So it's like Changeling the Lost 2nd Edition. We're using the playtest rules that they've released. And these will be the official rules coming out later. But the thing is I'm always mixed about larger companies doing Kickstarters. Mm-hmm. Now, it seems like they are doing this as a way to release a hardback version for cheaper. Mm-hmm. Is what it sounded like to me, which is nice. It's basically taking people who want to support this and giving them some free stuff, well, not entirely free, but giving them some extra stuff for supporting it, and giving those who want to buy the hardcover books a little bit cheaper of a price, which is, a way to spread around the cost a little bit. For some... But at the same time, there's always that. Did you really need to do that?
Yeah, I agree.
But, overall, I don't think it's too bad. Onyx has always tried to, really do stuff with the community a little bit more, and I think just putting out a Kickstarter sounds like, it's just kind of their way to do stuff. So I kind of like Onyx Path, because they really do try and... I mean, they've released, all the playtest rules for free, which is basically the edition. It's obviously going to be tweaks and changes for the official release, but it's we're able to play it because they've released all this stuff, which is nice. And then it's this Kickstarter, try and get some extra stuff, for...
Yeah.
It's not horrible. It's kind of nice, too.
Yeah, Onyx does seem to favor Kickstarters occasionally, just because I guess it's like, you guys love this, we want you to love it also, kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah.
So, all right. Do you anything else you want to add about it right now, or? I guess the Kickstarter has how long to go? 18 days?
Yeah, and they've already reached their goal. There's how many stretch goals have they reached? They've
doubled their original goal.
Yeah.
But, their stretch goals. Let's see. They've reached 108. Which stretch goal is that? So they actually still have some more. They have 2 more stretch goals they want to really reach. A Book of Kith's Mirror will be added to the book supplement detailing expansion.
Yeah.
All backers receiving hardcover physical copies of the core rule. Part of the reward will be... and sorry, I'm just kind of
then it's Kith and Kin add-on, and that's all they got right now.
Huh. Yeah. So basically the stretch goal. So the 112 stretch goal gives this Kith and Kin for those who have reached a certain point in the pledges, and then the 114,000 stretch goal gives it to people under that. So it's kind of like, they're just spreading around the love. Basically, they're using stretch goals to spread around the love a little more, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way of
doing it. This is their 27th Kickstarter.
Whew.
Yeah, it seems like they've done them for a lot. So, I don't know. I think it could be worse, but at the same time, it's kind of,
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
They're not Steve Jackson games.
They're not. Steve Jackson does not need to do Kickstarters for Munchkin. They can do them for other things, There are good reasons to do Kickstarters, but for Munchkin, no.
Again, I could see, the only one I could actually see a little bit was when they did the Kickstarter for Shakespeare, because that's like, yeah, but then after that, it's like...
They're going to buy it. People are going to buy it.
Apparently the Shakespeare one, the idea came on a cruise that Steve Jackson was on, and people came up to him and saying, hey, why don't you do a Shakespeare one? So he took that idea, and that's why he did a Kickstarter for it, because it was suggested by a few people, and he's like, well, let's see if people are interested.
Yeah.
I found that out at the con.
I figured that's what a little reason behind it was. That they just sort of like...
But the fact that he had some people suggesting it to him means he could have printed it and made money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that I could see also them Kickstartering and would make more sense is like the collectible card game.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's something that's, still Munchkin, but out of the realm of normal Munchkin.
Yeah. Like, there are good things to Kickstart, and honestly, like, with the changing the loss, they're using it to make it to... They're using people who are willing to give more to help other people not have to pay as much.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is a good way to do it. If you're gonna be a big company kickstarting, that's actually, if anything, a really good way to go.
Yeah.
All right, since Joe was last, which one were you going to talk about? It's
not one of the ones on your list.
Okay, great. That's I did want to give out a couple of shout outs. I first want to shout out Oko Chronicles, because it's a really cool looking game. It's been funded and they have a late pledge open. That's why I just want to say that one, because I noticed that one. That was kind of cool that they had a late pledge option, that if you missed the Kickstarter, you could still get some of the stuff at Kickstarter prices, kind of thing, with all their stretch goals, which you probably couldn't get when it goes to the store. And it was funded with a lot of things. It's like a little it's one of those tile build your own adventure kind of things, except it's like you're kind of samurai fighting Oni. So that's kind of neat. I do want to say I thought the Andra project was kind of cool, because you only need a cell phone and a couple of cards to play it. It's basically like Resistance to an extreme, or like one of those type of games. The two RPGs that I saw kickstarted, Iglesia is kind of neat. The one where you get where you have GI Joes as your characters was kind of interesting. I'm sorry, action figures. But the one I really want to throw another shout out for is, I kind of like the Space Race Intercosmos. That was a kind of interesting one. It's a deck building game, so that's cool that way. So it's been funded, 11 days to go. You take on a space agency, and you're competing with other space agencies to like do all the different things. Like there's scenarios you can have, achievements. You could be like, oh, I'm going to send the first satellite. I'm going to have to send the first person to the moon. And it's like you're taking on a different role of a different space agency. So they do have, with some of their stretch goals, they've done things like you now have like the Chinese space program as a 5th player you could have. So it is a lot of interesting cards, foam inserts, a little first player, a little rocket miniature. It's a little clever things that make it's interesting kind of time period that, since it is focused more on like the 60s and stuff and the space race during that time. And
okay.
What?
I just noticed one of their stretch goals, and I just had to mention it.
Mm-hmm.
One of their stretch goals is Ancient Aliens. And it has the guy with the funky hair on the card.
Oh my gosh.
And it says, can you prove the ancient astronaut hypothesis, or will all the research be in vain?
That's wonderful.
Yep. Because they've hit, I can't convert this from their...
Yeah, I don't know. It's $55,599.
They've reached 46, I think it's euros.
46 euros. 46,599 euros.
Oh, yeah.
Of a 19,000 euro goal.
So they got the Ancient Aliens already, too, unlocked.
Yeah.
I see where they're at. The Vega program is where they're working on now, which is 2 + 2 space program cards. Basically, it's like each stretch goal is a couple new cards, scenarios, things like that add a bunch of stuff to the game.
Yeah, that's the final stretch goal too.
Well, again, if they hit it, they might add more.
Right.
Because I thought the last time I checked this year, they had a lot less.
Okay.
So, you know, I think they've added more since I checked it on, like, Tuesdays last time I checked this out. Because I'm guessing they've been getting a lot of funding, you know. Again, they've, like, doubled their stretch goal, and so it is funded. And they do offer free shipping if you're in Europe or the U.S.
Ooh, they unlocked Mir Space Station.
I know. They got such interesting things. It's like, I like it. It's just there's something about it that just is very interesting. And it's $22, and you get the Inner Cosmos expansion. I think it's, if you just want the expansion, oh, okay. I think the Kickstarter is actually like the expansion to the game. It's hard to tell that.
Yeah, I think so. You're right.
Which you get $22, which I didn't even know about this game. But for $63, you get the game, and you also get the expansion, all the stretch goals.
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't even know about this. It's like, unfortunately, that's something that happens sometimes. I actually missed on Tuesday that this is actually expansion, because the name is kind of hard to tell, and Kickstarters are hard to maneuver your brain through sometimes.
Right.
Interesting. Cool. But you definitely could get the original game, too, if you want. So, and 63 for a game expansion, all the stretch goals, isn't actually that bad.
No.
So. All right. That was the one I want to say. Joe, why don't we move on to you, then? What were you throwing out there?
Well, I'm going to talk about one that I picked up, actually, at PAX.
Uh-huh.
And that's Epic PvP.
Uh-huh.
They actually still had some of their PAX. Yeah, I can speak today. Some of their big boxes from their Kickstarter left at the convention.
Uh-huh.
So I picked it up. It's done by. Give me a second. I have the thing. It's done by. God dang it. Fun to 11 Games. They're actually a local company in Pennsylvania. I know we got a chance to talk to them. They are only a 3-person company, and they do all their stuff through Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
They've also done Castle Dice, which I've seen out there before. The box looks familiar, so I think I've seen that game in stores already. That one's one they did a while back, but this one just got kickstarted actually back in July of this year, I believe.
Yeah. And it looks like they've done two different things with it before, though.
What, this one?
I don't know.
No, they've done they did Mystic School for Boys and Mystic School for Girls. But this was their first Epic P vs. P.
Uh-huh.
But I got the Ultimate Expansion box, which comes with a nice magnetic front. And then the drawers for the races, classes, and all the miscellaneous stuff that comes with it.
It's a nice box.
It is a very nice box.
Very nice box. The magnet's super strong. You can actually just do that, and nothing pulls out.
I would have laughed so hard if you tested that and everything fell out.
I've tested it before, so...
I know.
But yeah, basically it's 2 to 4 players. You can do a 3-player variant or a 4-player team variant, and you have special abilities. It's similar to what was it we were saying at the con, Matt? Small World.
Mm.
Because there's a class and race mixture thing to tell you your abilities. So it's similar to that in that respect, but it's a direct head-to-head fighting game. And you bring out cards in the play. They last for a round of blocking and a round of attack, and then they go away and you play new cards from your hand each turn.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole point is to kill your opponent.
Yep.
Simple, but a lot of fun, and I think they did a great job with it. So I wanted to give a shout out to them.
Okay. Cool. Why don't we go on our short break then, so people can grab a snack, go to the bathroom, and then we'll dive deeper into PAX Unplugged and our experience on the various days there. What kind of games we played, what we saw a little bit of. I saw a lot of things, so I'm not going to go over everything, just because there was an epic buttload of things, but, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, so I will just have us go on a break for a couple minutes. We'll be right back. See you in a second, folks. Bye.
Bye.
Alright, folks, we are back. So, it's time for our second half because we are going a little longer with a lot of things to talk about here. We are talking about my and Joe's experience at PAX Unplugged. So, why don't we start off with the kind of games that you played, Joe, and if there's something that you will mention that you don't mention that I played, we can talk about it then.
Okay, well, let's start with, we tried the Munchkin collectible card game.
We did. Yep.
Now,
How did that go?
I understand it's still in late development. They're still play testing it, but I was not impressed by it. It seems that there's a lot of unbalance between the different classes.
He was playing a halfling ranger and I was an orc bard, and when the person came to me and told me, oh, that's got a steep learning curve, and I'm like, wow, that's great for new players. It just wasn't.
Yeah, well, it was that the mechanics aren't exactly great.
Yeah.
And what else can I say about it that makes more sense?
They want to be like Magic or another one, but they can't use a lot of the names and like terms of it, so they come up with funny ones.
Yeah. It was like foo something as the acronym for how you take your turn order.
And that's the thing, is that's just the beginning of your turn. There's like a stupid acronym like foobar or something, where you're supposed to do like 7 different steps before you take your turn. It's like, what? That's way too complex.
Yeah.
You're like, you're supposed to like flip this on thing and do all this other stuff and like flip, and it none of them are.
Still sounds less complicated than Yu-Gi-Oh.
Okay, I can give you that one.
But yeah, it just, and also the price for it right now to pre-order it, you get 3 different class decks, and it was 12 boosters for over $100. Yeah. And for what we experienced of it, and it's supposed to come out in February.
Yeah.
So they don't have a lot of time for changing things up still.
Accurate, unfortunately.
The only good thing was I was glad we didn't actually do the what am I trying to think of? The tournament for it. We ended up just play testing it at their booth.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. We originally were going to think about doing it that way, but like after we tried it out, it was like, yeah.
Well, the tournaments also went really fast.
Yeah.
They need to expand how much space they have in their tourneys there, because room fills up way too quickly, and if you're not like standing in first in line, you may not get a chance to get into a tournament.
Also accurate, unfortunately.
Especially for the RPGs.
Yep.
Those were like, boom, done. But other games we tried, there was a fun baseball dice one.
Yes.
That James did get.
I'll look up the name while you're talking about it.
It's just a simple, each player gets 6 dice. You have batter dice and you have pitching dice, and whoever has more of the same thing, that's what happens. So batters can have single run, double, triple, or home run, or ball.
Yeah.
And pitcher has out, strike, double play, and triple play. So if whoever rolls more, that's what happens. If there's a tie, I think it either normally goes to the pitcher or there's a flip coin, which you can. There's a coin that you pass between the two. You can use that to break a tie.
So it did have its sports dice baseball.
Yeah. So that was a simple, easy one. Other ones we tried. Well, one was Unfair. We rented, or we got from the game library, and I decided to buy.
Yeah, that was cool.
I think we had mentioned it on stream before, but Unfair.
Yes.
It's a really interesting game. It's kind of like Smash Up meets building a theme park, because you can take place as different factions. There's robot, gangster, jungle, vampire. I know I'm missing one. Remember the other one? Robot, gangster, jungle, vampire.
Gangster, jungle, vampire. Shoot, I'm forgetting it too. Pirate.
Pirate. Pirate.
I took a stab. I lost.
It's fine.
Yeah, robot, jungle, gangster, pirate. There's actually another one, vampire and ninja.
Ninjas.
You know, those ninja theme parks.
Yeah. Well, I think they actually do have those, but that's besides the point.
But
just don't have the pirate theme park across from the ninja theme park, or else you'll have a cataclysmic event.
Well, the thing is, the way it works is
you combined all decks that are being used.
You take a theme, you take a theme per player, so it could just be that there's an insane. Each person is building basically the same theme park to a degree, except it's just you get lucky on what you pull out, kind of things a little bit too.
Yeah, you can design it differently, but you're all using the same pieces. So you could have, if you have a 3-player game going on, you could have ninja robot vampires.
You can indeed have ninja robot Kickstarters.
Kickstarters?
I don't know what I was saying there for a second. I lost my mind.
Ninja robot Kickstarters. But that was a fun one we did. We also play tested Starfinder.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I was
which
ask about
was
that.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
I played a mouse engineer, which was my favorite of the two characters I played, because I played that one, and then I played a lizard person fighter.
Yeah.
But we also got to check out both aspects of the fighting system, the normal fighting system, and also the spaceship combat.
How's spaceship combat?
It works well.
Yeah, it's on that, was it a hex system?
Yeah, it's a hex system, which is good because that was reminiscent of other space combat ones. Hex system tends to be a very good one for space combat. It was all about maneuvers and stuff.
If I remember correctly, Space Jammer in 2nd edition used hex combat.
It did. Spelljammer used hex combat. It's all about the maneuvering and the speed, and it's very simple, and it makes it that every person has a job, because basically every person is assigned to, you assign one or more people to various positions on the ship. Like the
engineering, steering, captain, guns.
Yeah, I was the science officer, so I had a couple of different things I could do. Granted, I was bad at most of them, because, it was the only one I could actually roll, but I was still terrible at it.
Because it involved computers a lot, and you didn't have much of a computer?
I had more than other people, but it was still, I have, +2 instead of +0 that other people would have, so it's
Well,
did you just roll bad stats or something?
No, because we had pre-made characters.
Yeah, I realized that. I'm like, wait, these things have pre-made characters.
Yeah, I got to play the same one, which I learned the second time. I had my son with me. I was playing this, insect dude, and apparently this little container at my side, I didn't know the first time we played through, had my son with me. I was taking on adventures to show him the world before we settle in. Before I returned to my wives, too. It's wives, eh?
Well, yeah. The first time I was a mouse dude who was an engineer who had a drone. So that made him really. I was able to set my combat up that I had the drone already move in, so the drone was able to just fly there, and it could do one action on its own turn. If I wasn't directly controlling it, so I'm like, okay, it's set up in an area where it can easily fire on things. So it would get a shot, and then I chuck grenades. Oh, but the best thing in that one, the rat people get cheek pouches.
Yeah.
I stuck my drone at one point in my cheek pouch.
That's hilarious.
It was really funny.
So I'm sitting there like, because I think it held up like 1 cubic meter of.
No, it was 1 cubic
material.
foot, and you had a tiny
feet,
drone.
Foot, yeah.
So we're like, yeah, it's like a cubic foot. It's just a tiny drone. It's like you picked up a cat and shoved it in your cheeks.
Yes. It's like, what's that buzzing sound? Northern?
And I was telepathic, so I kept speaking in everyone's minds. I was like, yo, hey guys, I can speak in our minds.
But the second time I was a fighter, the lizard folk fighter, and I had no gunnery skill.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the gunner, because no one else had gunnery skill either.
Yeah.
But I had the highest strength, which their gunneries were based off of strength.
Yep.
You have to turn the turret, I guess?
Yeah, well, there's one turret, and then the rest of them were all just laser cannons. Yeah, fixed laser cannons. So I don't know why it was based off of strength, but it made me the best possible gunner that we had.
Yeah. Good
I would have thought it would have been dex for shooting, but
too bad.
Loading the heavy ammo?
Yeah.
Lasers?
Oh, right, yeah.
Well,
sorry, I'm thinking like Spelljammer, because I don't know much about Starfinder, and like Spelljammer, it's like archaic weaponry on.
Yeah, no, this is all futuristic. So. Maybe the batteries with the lasers, reloading.
Yeah.
But the reason I really did well was people kept using their abilities to improve the guns.
Yep. So we can shoot those guys much better. While our pilot managed to maneuver to the one area they couldn't shoot at, so we were just sitting there in their blind spot, blasting into their butt, basically.
Their rear gun had been already, like, disabled and falling off. So we just kept getting behind them and just shooting them up the butt.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, both of those. Let's see, what else did we do? Well, I was in 2 tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a Munchkathon, which I did not win the Munchkathon. I did not even get past the first round of Munchkathon, unfortunately. It was very close, though. We all got to level 9. And the original ruling, they said, was if there was a tie for second place, then everyone, those 2 would move on. Well, we had a 3-way tie for second place, and they're like, well, we can't move the entire table, so the next person who gets in gets the 10th wins. So I lost by that much. But the second time, on Sunday, they had a Munchkin Shakespeare-a-thon, which I actually got second place in. So I got a free game of Munchkin Shakespeare Deluxe.
Fun.
But I did get a Chibi Cthulhu, which is hovering somewhere on the other side of my apartment. That was a gift that everyone got for playing in the Munchkathon. And it gives you the ability, if you're playing Munchkin with it, you get to kill one undead. Free of charge.
Yes.
Because it's zombie Chibi Cthulhu. So, those were fun. The first one was a little more fun. The second one, the Munchkin Shakespeare Deluxe-a-thon, the guy who won was a little intense and was a very big rules lawyer.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
So that made it a little less fun for the second round of that one. Because it was like, the guy kept calling the rules guy over, hey, blah, 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 blah. No, it says this in the rules. You're wrong. Like, there was one that, like, we were trying to figure out, one character died, and we were trying to figure out when you respawn from death. And the guy's, like, reading the rules, and the guy from Steve Jackson Games is like, oh, you respawn on your turn. He's like, no, no, no. It says right here in this paragraph that you technically respawn right away on the next player's turn, but you don't get your stuff until your turn. It was kind of like that kind of rules lawyering.
Can you just say, hey, can we kick this guy out, please? This isn't fun.
No, because...
I know.
No.
But I know, that's not how it works. It's so obnoxious.
Well, that one was interesting, though, too, because we didn't have enough players to make 4 games of 4. So we had 3 games with 2 games of 4 and 1 game of 5. Which the game of 5, what they did was they just had someone pull a random chance card to get into the final if they had lost.
Mm.
So we had one person who had lost from the first round who got back in, and unfortunately, they barely got off of level 1 for the final. But that was interesting. It was cool to do a couple of those. Matt, can you think of?
I got a couple more if you haven't thought of any.
Well,
go ahead.
I was just kind of curious. How much you guys focused on like what is your kind of primary? Did you primary like card games, board games, or like role playing games?
The majority.
Or did you try and do a mix?
Yeah, the majority of stuff was card and board games, I would say. There were role playing games spread about here and there. Like Onyx Path had a thing there.
Looking at the schedule, I do see that there's a bunch of vampire.
Yeah.
Stuff.
There was like the Starjammer or
Starfinder.
Starfinder. Starfinder / it was a little Pathfinder, but not as much as Starfinder. That was there. There were a couple other role-playing games that I saw that, like, when I was wandering around talking to a lot of people there.
There are a number of Adventurers League stuff that went on.
Yeah. I mean, well, we unfortunately couldn't get into any of the role-playing stuff because on Friday we didn't know we had the best opportunity to. On Sunday, we were already kind of exhausted and already had a schedule. And on Saturday, it was filled up like 3 seconds into the doors opening.
Gosh.
Yeah,
apparently there was you could go down there ahead of.
What they were doing it is the entrance over by the sign up. You could go in there, but then you'd have to walk all the way to the main entrance when they had it separated off because it was still technically early. But that didn't mean you couldn't get in line for sign up there.
But they didn't really make that well known, so that kind of
we went to the main
hard
entrance.
part. Yeah, we just went to the main entrance and figured then we had to go down. We figured they weren't going to allow people in early, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, again, it was just to line up, but still.
Right.
But we didn't know we could just line up early.
Right, because by the time you got down there for the lines, all the games the line was out that it was ridiculously long, and people were already signing up by the time you got down there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go through the full list and just see if there's any kind of other hi from Bangkok, Blizzard. See if there's any more ones that are there. But I can tell you about we did encounter again mostly board and card games. So there are a few you missed though that we did for board games at least. Onitama, which was martial arts meets chess.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was a weird one.
You basically had this little chessboard with less pieces, but what was it?
You basically had 6 pawns and a king.
Yeah, and there were only 5. There was a whole deck of moves, and you'd shuffle it up, and you put 2 to each character and 1 in the middle. And effectively, what happens is, was it 2 in the middle?
2 in the middle, 2 to each character.
And what happens is each maneuver tells you how one of your pieces can move, king or pawns. It tells you where you start and what places you can move to. And then you switch it out for one that's in the middle. So you keep switching out yours for ones in the middle, and the other players are switching them out. So it's a little bit of strategy and it's interesting little game there for setting up things.
Yeah.
Frontline Comrades was kind of fun.
Oh yeah, that was was a lot of fun. Actually, I meant to get that one. I forgot.
You're in Soviet bloc Russia, and the Commodore is at the back of the line, like going into battle. and
pushing you forward.
So you can't escape it. But the object is to be the one that is dying last to all the various weapon fire that's hitting us. So you have to, like, it's a little bit of like guillotine where you have to move up and down the line, except you have to, like, maneuver. You have to see, like, where an attack is incoming, and then play a card to move yourself or your opponents to have them get hit by it while you manage to survive the attacks and take less damage.
Yes, and I pulled the win out on that as the bear.
Yes, the bear won. But what was it? James used an item or maneuver which doubled the damage to someone else, and it happened to hit the person who was showing us the game, so they died first because they took like 6 damage in one hit or something ridiculous.
Yeah, and we all dodged out of the way.
Yeah, it's like the person we were playing with just like blew up right away.
He's like, well, I'm out of this game, but I guess I'll finish showing you how to play.
Yeah. No, that was a good one. And I think you hit on most of the other games we actually, like, sat down and played in. We didn't have as many opportunities to sit down and play, especially after Friday, just because it was so packed.
Yeah, Saturday was really packed. Oh, but we did get to see on Friday night.
Yes. We did sit down for the Dice Camera Action live.
Yep. We decided that would have been fun. I was going to ask, did you see anything with, like, with Chris Perkins?
We did.
Yeah.
We didn't get to go to Acquisitions Incorporated because we were having dinner, and by the time we got back, it was, like, filled up already.
Well, also the last train that night left at 11:20, and
theoretically we
might have had to leave early during.
Yeah. Because it was similar that we got out to the, like, second to last train on Friday because it was at a similar time, but it was also because Dice Camera Action ended at 11. But we did get to Joe did get to fling a frog at Chris Perkins, so that's all that counts.
Yes.
Wait, what?
They passed out a bunch of these little rubberish frogs that have, like, a slight stickiness. Because apparently in their adventures they picked up this sack of frogs.
I bet. Sounds about right.
When they say release the frogs, everyone's supposed to fling.
But it never came up.
I got one of them. Yeah, it never came up. So at the area, they're like, you know what? This didn't come up, but release the frog.
Yeah.
And then Matt went and did a meet and greet.
Yeah, they had a meet and greet, and so I saw them. Yeah, just because we were in the area because it was in their, like, suboptimal. What was it? Or suboptimal food court. It's also was expensive.
Oh my God! $21 for a sandwich that had no cheese on it, French fries, and a soda.
Yep.
Yeah. So Disneyland prices.
Yeah, Disneyland prices.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm never doing that one again.
So, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, like, so how many panels did you guys go to overall? Do you think, like,
did
you guys go to focus panels, or did you? Okay.
I thought about going to certain panels, but it ended up I was always doing something else or, like, wandering something else. Though I did get a huge stack of business cards I talked to of people that I could email and maybe get on the show. So.
I don't know what's more interesting, that you went out of the way to get business cards or that they're sitting on your desk.
Well, they were downstairs in my bag, and I just finally brought them up for today.
I know, I'm just poking fun.
So I talked to I was going to go through these because it was an example, because I listened to a bunch of them about their game. I did meet the Wicked Apple peoples and talk to them, too. They were cool. I talked about them earlier in the year when I went to PAX South, because that's where I saw it. Here's a role-playing game, Fate of the Norns, which was a cool role-playing game where you don't use dice, you use runes that come with the game.
Ooh.
So you, like, roll these runes to get various effects. So that was kind of an interesting one that was very Viking role-playing game that I saw and talked to the people about. I did meet the people that do Brass Empire, which you talked about a little bit the other week. So that was cool. Let's see here. We have... oh, God. Some people were doing Sharknado, the board game.
There was also Rambo the board game.
Yeah, and Big Trouble
which I got
in
a
Little China.
bandana from.
That sounds slightly more reasonable.
Well, yeah.
And Big Trouble in Little China, the board game.
We didn't get to try those. We kind of were tempted. But the Sharknado one, at least it had this really cool plastic miniature of like a tornado with sharks coming out of it, which I gave them props for that. That was like you're like, okay, yeah, you got me. That's kind of neat. I will give you that.
Yeah, just digging through the schedule, something that looked kind of cool, which was a panel about playing to lose, like unwinnable games, and I'm just like, I was almost curious if one of you went to that, but I guess since you didn't go to panels, probably not.
One of the tourneys I was interested in but didn't get a chance to do was they had the Seven Wonders tourney, but then on Sunday they had 7 blunders.
We were supposed to have the worst
which you're
blunder.
supposed to have the lowest score wins, which I heard the person that won scored only 13 points.
I can't remember how to score in Seven Wonders because I've played it like twice ever, so it's like hard to remember how to do that badly.
Yeah, but they had a lot of different tourneys. The one panel I wanted to check out was how to get into the gaming.
Yes.
How to build your gaming company kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm also planning. I'm assuming it's going to happen again next year. They actually also sent out a thing already on like what can we do to improve it, which I filled out their survey.
I didn't get that because again they never email me anything.
What I want to plan to do is finish up modifying some stuff for the role-playing game that I've written. They actually have a room there for people who are trying to start games and stuff that they can try to get players to play test there. Which that's one thing I would have also want to try to do next time is try to go in that room a little bit more and see what people are trying to create, because that seems interesting. But I would like to see about signing up for that room and maybe getting my game out there.
Yep. I met the people that did Yeti versus Bigfoot, which you talked about the other week.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
The role-playing game, Degenesis, was really cool from the setting. It's set in a world where, like, it's armed conflict and meteorites basically ravage the world. And it's in the future while civilization's coming back. But, like, the result of all this battle is causing more these kind of, like, material to seep into the world, mutating things. So you have, like, people trying to rebuild the world while still having conflicts with each other in this, like, apocalyptic wasteland. And then now monsters and mutants kind of coming in and trying to, like, go after people. And it was kind of really an interesting setup that looked like a really cool version of a post-apocalyptic world. And they used a 2D10 system. So I thought that would harken to you, Wyrm, a little bit there. 2D10 system.
Yeah. Oh, well, I just like the 2D10 because it makes it a curve. I don't know. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how it works out. I was doing the math on it the other day.
There was a couple of interesting board games I saw in this, like, small display of, like, each company basically had one table. There was Stitches, where it was you're playing as zombies that stitch together body parts to fight monsters together. Like, you're each competing to, like, defeat the monster first, but you're, like, picking up body parts to do it. So you could have, like, I have crab arms, to, like, in order to fight it better, things like that. It's a really weird little thing. I saw Shadows over Westminster, which it sounds like it's a Sherlock Holmes game, but it was like a Cthulhian horror game.
Ah.
So it's combining a little bit of that, like, that same time period of, like, British detective work, but with, like, horrible monsters.
Excuse me, Watson. Do you have a tentacle growing out of your mouth?
Oh, dear so. Holmes? Not again.
Okay.
All right, that was a weird exchange. I will give you that.
Yeah,
one.
no, right?
Yes. Well, and it's a co-op deck building game, though, so that's an interesting kind of thing. So there's a level of deck building to it to get everything set up. I saw the people that did, what's it all? It's the Age of Kingdom ones. Laruna. Saw those folks. They were neat. Let's see here. That's most of the major ones I could remember off the top of my head, unfortunately, that it's I talk to some people about their games. I talk to some people about their cards more. You know, it's whoever had time to discuss things. Like, you know, some people could talk a little bit about their games. Other people were busy.
You also had luck out on Magic Mind.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, my God. The big thing that is there is I found a place on Saturday later on in the day that had $75 Magic booster boxes. And if you're anyone that collects Magic, you will know that a booster box normally ranges from about 120 to 142, I think it is, because it's 36 packs at $4 a pack normally. A good price would be closer to 100. I know a place that normally I can get one for 106. This was 75, which is like $2 a pack, which is incredible.
How many did you buy?
3.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, but that would also been like I could have gotten for the same price, probably like normally 2. It would have cost me a lot extra to get all those. So it was definitely, it was definitely so. It was like, wow, this is great.
And did the one box you get a lot of good stuff in?
Yes, one I got a whole crud ton of mythics, and one I got two of the planeswalkers from the set, and the other one I got just a whole lot of mythics. None of the planeswalkers, but a whole lot of mythics. So it was sort of like, well, these ended up good. And the third one is technically a Christmas present because I didn't have enough cash on, so I borrowed some at the time from my parents.
So he has to open that on Christmas.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of surprised that there was a Catan-like tournament, because just knowing Catan, it's basically like the dice can just screw you over. It's like, can you really make a tournament out of that kind of luck?
They had Catan tournaments all 3 days going throughout the days.
They had so many luck-based games that have just a little hint of skill to them. That's sort of like, wow.
Like,
well, like
some
Munchkin.
of them make more sense. Well, yeah, I like Munchkin, yeah, but there's a little bit more with Munchkin. There's a lot of luck in Munchkin, but like Catan, in my opinion, I have gotten like these amazing cities on like a bunch of 6s and like 8s, and then they just never get rolled and I lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were,
oh, good.
there was definitely some very interesting things there that we did see, because beyond all this, there were things like card mats, shops with a lot of interesting dice.
I got some cool dice.
Yes. Furniture for gaming, which ranged from basically like a gaming chair, but with some stuff that you could put like board and card games in front of you, you know, like little tables and stuff on them.
That's fun.
Or to like dining room tables or like coffee tables that have like all the flip up ridiculous stuff so that you can like store things in them and like, throw them. Yeah, they had like it was.
They
ridiculous.
also had a few booths of handmade wooden items that like wooden card holders for Magic, wooden dice holders, stuff like that, which were really beautifully carved. I wish I could have afforded some of that stuff, but
I have some stuff like that on my like shopping list thing that I have on a website, or that I have in a bookmark folder.
They had like these like heavy cardboard things that you could punch out, and it was like build your own, and it showed like a whole bunch of them on displays. It was like little buildings and stuff that you could just put together. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, those were really cool.
Oh, they had like a whole display of them. I had like a picture of them. I've got to like maybe like post online, but it was like ridiculous that it was like, wow, these things were like, and it were so like when you like looked at the patterns, they looked so simple because they were just selling them in like squares with like little like indentations, so you don't know much what you're getting until you start like poking them out, and then you like put them together, and it's like, ooh, I just built a building.
Yeah,
that sounds cool.
There was lots of cool stuff like that. The dice I got were 16 millimeter full metal dice, green with gold inlay for the numbers.
Nice.
Yes,
I call them table denters. Because the 20, I mean, could be used as a weapon. That could be a slingshot bullet.
I don't think I could ever be any happier than with my dragon die, which
Ooh.
I've always loved this thing. I've showed it off a couple times.
It is fairly epic. Yeah, but no, there was it was insane amount of stuff that was there, I have to say. And as much as like
the only thing that the only thing that was stuck was that 6 o'clock the
Expo hall closed.
Expo hall closed. Yeah. So you can only buy stuff up to 6 or demo the games there up to 6. Now they still had the free play. They also had a classic board game room. We really didn't do anything in there.
Well, we didn't feel like playing Sorry or Clue or something, you know.
Yeah, that was more of the old classic board game stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably have like 5 of those in a closet somewhere.
Yeah. It's just like, well, do we feel like playing some shootings and ladders?
Oh, we forgot to mention what else you bought.
Oh, what I bought? Oh yeah, I got a copy of Wicked Apples finally, and I got Betrayal at Baldur's Gate.
That's what I was.
Oh, you got Betrayal at Baldur's Gate.
Of course,
now
I had it.
Now I wish it was in the East Coast so I could go and play that with you.
One day maybe you'll fly in.
Yes. Maybe we'll just meet.
How close are you to New York? Because I may visit my sister in New York at some point.
Driving
a few hours.
Yeah.
2 hours. Not too bad.
Hours,
Maybe I'll visit if I'm ever up there visiting my sister.
Well, we could always just come to you then at that point in time if you're up there. But New York is not difficulty to travel to. It's just a few hours away. So. Anyway, though, so yeah.
Or maybe we could get you out for a PAX Unplugged.
Possible too.
But nope, it was an insane amount of stuff to talk about, and I think we've pretty much scratched some of the surface. It's like the amount of depths we could probably go into detail about things was just so much of it, because it was just expansive.
Oh yeah, I think we covered everything we pretty much did.
The most important things we did, the major activities. And no one really wants to hear about anything of the other details about it. You know, we covered the major tabletop details pretty much.
Yeah, we're not going to go into, hey, we ate at this place.
It was a nice place, or that was a terrible place, because we had both of those experiences.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, why don't we move into our final segment, because we do want to finish up today of our 2 weeks in gaming, because we did miss 2 weeks. So why don't we start with you, because we've been talking for a bit.
Yeah. So let's see. I had my first. Working backwards, I had my first game for Bastion Frontier, my D&D campaign that I'm running on my channel with Tantus and Tavalik, G-Man, number 99, and Mads are my players. You probably have heard of 2 of them, and a third one, maybe, if you know the right channels, and the last one, no, you haven't, because she is just a friend.
That was fun. It was fun to just be totally kind of incidental jerk.
Yes. I was like, are you going? I'm like, oh, I think I have a feeling you're going to be the chaos bringer in my group.
But I'm lawful in alignment. I'm chaos bringer by accident, because I'm just sort of I say things as I see them exactly.
Yeah. So that was fun, and now I actually kind of have a direction. I always hate first games because I never know what the players are going to do. It's like they don't have a direction, they're thrown into a world, they don't know what to do, and so they're just going to kind of pick up on something, and I'm just like, I sure hope they just don't decide to walk in the opposite direction of everything.
Yep.
What's over here? It's shiny.
Shinies!
Which I have had a player do before. They literally were like, okay, fun. So let's go, why don't we go and travel over to this town over here? I'm like way in a different area. Anyway,
that was nice, Bo. Let's get back on it.
Yeah. So, that was kind of a problematic player though anyway, so that's a different thing. But, let's see, what else did I do? I did the Curse of Stride game with my friends. Kind of been off and on with that just because things have been kind of crazy for them and me lately. But had that. It was kind of fun. Just to not be too spoilery for anyone. They fought a kind of a tough character, and it left, and they're kind of at the point where they're getting close to where they need to fight Strahd, but they're like, let's go and see what else there is around to kind of make sure we've got everything we need. And they went on and fought a really tough character and got kind of unlucky, I gotta say. They're all pretty capable, but they took some really bad hits because they just didn't treat things properly, and the other person was actually pretty powerful. And as a result, they ended pretty wounded. And there's kind of this point where, to add some extra drama, I ended the session with Strahd showing up.
Of course, because he's supposed to show up whenever it's least expected and least convenient.
Yeah, and it's kind of just like, well, they've kind of already made it clear that they're enemies of Strahd, and it's all like they're weak and wounded. He's gonna come by, if at least to mess with them. So that'll be fun.
I'm a dick.
Well, no,
that is continuing tomorrow.
I took my inspiration from when I played with Strahd from the Curse of Strahd, the Castle of Ravenloft board game, where they have the one card, Strahd shows up, fireballs you, and then leaves.
And he did do that at one point.
It's just he shows up, he's just like, fireball, I'm done with you guys for now. It's like, what a dick!
Yeah, that's the thing. So like, so it's kind of gonna be that moment because they're all weak, they're all wounded, and it's like, I'm gonna see if I can't knock down at least one of them. We'll see. That'll continue tomorrow.
Cool. Anything else, or was that the listing?
That's about the extent of it. We had a fairly because this last week was Thanksgiving, I actually didn't play in very many games. So it's basically the week before, and then like the one game with you guys on Wednesday this last week. So it ended up being about 1 week worth of games, just over 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think for me, I can remember I did Red River Robbers with you guys. And we didn't talk about it because that was not this week, but the week before, where Tiv has turned to more and more of the dark side, even though...
Oh, gosh.
I've got to tell him that technically the deities he worships are technically overall neutral, even though one of them isn't. It's a triumvirate of death gods, so they take on different alignments that balance out towards neutral.
Yeah, still.
Even though the artifact is technically from the evil one originally, but he's contacted all of them. So, I mean, he can continue to be evil and horrible if he wants, but it's not technically where the powers he's coming from are getting. They won't stop him, you know? And it is like a temple of dark power from where it's originally, like, you know, stuff, but still.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Tiv and his character. Tiv's one of those people who just plays his characters to his character.
Yeah.
You know, like, he will not, like, there's, like, that can be problematic. Thankfully, he doesn't make them too bad. Like, I know someone who's like, well, no, that's not in character. I wouldn't do that. I stabbed the party member. It's like, at that point, you're getting a little bored. Thankfully, he's not that bad. But he does very much go, no, this is where the character's going. I'm going there. And it's like, okay, sure. And it's a style of play. It's not a bad thing. It's just a style of play.
Did I have anything else last week? I think I can't remember. I think I haven't had that Pathfinder session at all. So, Joe, did you have anything else or a board game you're remembering that I'm forgetting?
I think we covered it all.
Yeah, I can't remember anything else. I think after PAX Unplugged, I got to play some Magic at PAX. That was good. Which I was glad about doing. I didn't get to play a lot of Magic, but I got to play some, so I'll call it a day on that one.
Free trainer decks.
Oh, and we got
I almost forgot. In the Curse of Strahd game, during that like little part, one of the players got his arm ripped off. That was fun.
Yay!
That's the thing. They ended up pretty bad.
You had Man Bites Dog.
Oh, yeah, we played Man Bites Dog with a random guy while we were charging our phone.
Yes.
That's funny.
Which
Man Bites Dog is a word game. It's basically you're creating weird newspaper headlines and you have to have some grammatical sense of to make sense, and it can be as weird as you want.
That's fun.
So yeah, it's like 350-pound starlet stabs president.
Yeah. So it does have to make sense with the level of grammar, but it is like it's the shock headline, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But no,
that guy also kept drawing exclusives out the butt.
Yeah, which doubles the amount of points you're getting from whatever you're scoring at the time. So he was just like, kicking our butts every time it seemed. Ouch.
Yeah, it was like, exclusive! Exclusive! It's like, how you keep getting those every round? One round he had got 2, but you could only use 1 in a headline, so he wasn't able to do double, but...
Yes. Nope, too bad.
I think that covers everything. And also, to throw that out there, today is Small Business Day. Go support your small businesses like game stores, which we'll be doing later today.
Yes, it has good deals. Very good deals.
And I'm going to make a little push for, make sure you, if you're going to, make sure you contact, some people or try and figure out something to do for net neutrality, because that's being voted on in, 3 weeks.
Yes! Which, unfortunately,
in America,
it's going to be a hard battle, but we can try.
I don't think it's going to be too hard. People are pretty outraged, and I don't think Congress is going to vote for it, hopefully.
Congress doesn't. It's FCC. It's all FCC. The Congress can choose to intervene. But they have to choose to.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the FCC has got Puppet guy in charge of it, basically.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, basically the Verizon guy.
Yeah, the guy who's Verizon Puppet's basically the guy in charge of FCC right now. And Verizon are one of the people pushing for getting rid of net neutrality, which has done horrible things in every country that it's been gotten rid of. So. Yeah. But it'll work here in America because things work so well.
I'm joining a protest on Thursday, December 7th.
Cool.
I'm like, nah, I need to participate in this.
Yeah, I have to send some stuff out too, definitely.
Protesting on in front of Verizon stores.
Yeah. Jeez.
There's actually you could look it up. There's they're doing them all over the country, so.
Yeah, might be one near us. We'll have to see it. But yes, support net neutrality because that's a good idea. Especially because you're here on the internet with us.
Yeah. Basically, do you want to have to pay to watch Twitch? You do want to pay your internet provider to watch Twitch because they blocked your experience behind a wall of money that you have to pay to go. Oh, you want social media? You have to pay this much. You want?
I think the good example
adult content. You have to pay
your cable sets. What do you pay for in cable and all the different packages you can get? Do you want that with internet? That's the big thing. Which is that's what they can and will do. So. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Why don't we end it for today? We went late, but not nearly as late as we thought. But then again, it's organizing my thoughts on PAX Unplugged was. I didn't have as much to say as I thought I might. So. But anyway, so why don't we go around with people and have them shout out their stuff? We'll start out with Wyrm.
I'm Diamond Wyrm. You can catch me at twitch.tv/DiamondWorm or at DiamondWorm on Twitter. If you want to, please go over there and give me a follow. I literally need 4 more followers to reach affiliate. That's it. So give me some love, please.
All our loves belong to you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I stream Monday, Wednesdays, Saturdays. Wednesdays is a D&D stream with Dantis here and some other people who you may know, as I already mentioned.
Yep.
I need to add in more days because I don't have enough gaming streams anymore. So I'll figure that out. But anyway.
Well, that's for me. It's I've been thinking of I want to do some more gaming streams, but I don't want to do too much. So maybe a couple mornings, I might just add an hour extra of just something. Mm-hmm. I'll play for an hour of some kind of game.
Yeah, I mean, to do something like that.
Yeah. Joe.
I pimp you as always. Anyone want a free Tantus? Buy one, get one free today.
God, please don't do that because remember the connotation. We did a lot of that on Jackbox yesterday. Enough of it.
Not as much as in the past.
Again, it's a dead horse that's the longer we beat on it, the less it's going to keep going. And
it's more like a meme. It's more like a meme at this point. But yeah.
I blame them for stealing my name, jerks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, right now I think our Sunday game is on hiatus until ...
I gotta figure it out. I might do a 2-shot, but I don't know if I'll start it this week or not. I'll figure it out. I haven't heard from people about doing that, so I've got to talk to people about maybe doing a 2-shot over 2 weeks because I got an idea for one that I could use. That might take up some of the time. So
okay.
Yep.
And other than that, see everyone again next Saturday.
And hopefully Monday for Once Upon a Misadventure for the continuing, which
Yep.
I will mention. I'm planning on a special event that will last over a couple of weeks. That it will be there will be their own individual adventures, but they'll have a larger connection of your adventures in Windfall. That they'll all have a kind of ongoing storyline with similar player characters, but different little things you'll be doing each week.
We'll be helping Santa now.
No, I could have a Christmas episode. You guys have stupid enough adventures that I could plan a Christmas episode or something similar.
I need to plan a birthday stream because that's going to be coming up.
Ooh.
November 20th.
Ollie's Jackbox birthday stream was pretty good. Mine was like, I just had a birthday stream, and I didn't say I had a birthday, so it was like, he had at least a countdown or something that was really nice, but then again, he was playing Jackbox for like 5 hours, and from like 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. his time to like 3 in the morning, so I mean, come on.
Yeah. No, it's kind of the thing where it's like, I'm not going to have that because I sleep in during the, at night like a normal person, but
You're not a vampire?
nah. But yeah, it's just kind of like that. It'll be because it's like it's Wednesday, so I could have the D&D stream. So it's like how much. So it's like if I'm GMing that day though, how much do I want to push myself early in the day too?
Yeah.
Like, do I want to do extra stuff or do I want to just do that? I don't know. I'll have to figure it out.
Yeah. But all right. So why don't we get going? We don't want everything to go late. So thank you everybody for joining. Support everyone here on the various things. You can check me out on here pretty much every day of the week. On my YouTube channel, the Dracovin Empire. I've got all the links to any of my social media down below here, including various things to support me. If you want to show some support, definitely can show some support just by throwing a follow to me or any of the rest of us on Twitch here, or even on social media. You can check in with us and learn more about it. So, anyway, we'll see you definitely here all next week for the next episode of Discussing Tabletop, where we'll have more great gaming stuff to discuss. But until then, have a great weekend, have a great day, and we'll see you all next time.
And enjoy your turkey leftovers.
There's probably lots of that, yes.